Okay, welcome everybody to a class on modals of speculation and deduction. Remember that modal verbs are verbs like must, could, may, might, can't. If you want a definition of a modal verb, I would say it's a verb which doesn't add an S in the present simple form for he and she. Yeah, we say he runs, he plays, he jumps, he must, he could, he may, he might, he can't, he couldn't. So that's what a modal verb is. That's one way of understanding what a modal verb is. Another way is that you can't use a to plus infinitive. Yeah, you can't say to must, to could. That's another thing that doesn't make any sense with modal verbs. But with ordinary verbs, you can. Yeah, to have, to be, to run, to skip, to jump. Anyway, that's what a modal verb is. Now, modal verbs are used for speculation and deduction, but they're also used for obligations. And we're going to look at that in a second lesson. And we're going to look at some other modals that we're not really going to mention very much in today's class. And that's because these guys are not really used for speculation and deduction. They're used for obligations in a variety of senses. But I want you to think of them as mainly, let's say, because I don't want to say they're never used for this, because I can think of a couple of times where maybe they are, but most of the time these are not used for speculation and deduction. They're used for obligation, and we'll look at that. We'll look at those uses in the next class. But what about speculation and deduction? Well, we have seen in a previous class that the present tenses have 4 aspects, the past tenses 4 aspects, and future 4 aspects. Simple, continuous, perfect, perfect continuous. And then we learn that even gerunds and infinitives and modal verbs can be found in 4 aspects: simple, continuous, perfect, perfect continuous. Now I'm glad that we have already done that, because this will make doing modal verbs a little bit easier. Because when you want to speculate or make a deduction about the present, you use a modal verb, and you very often see a modal verb in the continuous aspect if you are talking about the present. Yeah, you might see it just in the simple aspect, especially with the verb be. Yeah, and what do I mean? Let me give you some examples. Yeah, and here are my modals of speculation and deduction. Must, could, may, might, and can't, and couldn't. Although personally I try more often to use can't. It sounds more correct to me, or certainly more common, and so perhaps that's worth